world of Seorsum was once a serene creation, but something within the depths, under its skin, beckoned for change. Magic ebbed out from every seam and pore, changing the very core of the world, and life evolved with it, shaping it into what we know now to be our home. Civilizations crumbled and were rebuilt on the bodies of dead gods and the magic that had flown through their veins. Some flourished while others struggled with ever-changing landscapes. Even still, with all that chaos that was and is, people strive for more. Cities clamor with those eager just to be, and the wilds, once tamed before the lifeblood of the primordials spilled, overflow with possibilities and transformation. What will your page say in the book of Seorsum? Hello, nerds. Again, we are playing the games, the D&Ds. I think we're waiting for Serpent to get back a little bit first. Wanged! I've got myself on mute in the channel right now, but I'm having a little snack and a little bit of coffee. And, yeah. Let's get these guys rolling. Should be pretty fun. Got a little intro scene. Just gonna get this food out of my mouth first. And then yeah. Okay, let me see if they are ready after I take this swig. Talking aplenty. I hope everyone's doing well. Yeah, let's see. All right, are we good?
Should be.
Maybe. I don't know. Serpent back?
I don't think he is.
Yeah,
No,
I think
that's okay. We can chill for a bit anyway.
Yeah.
This will probably be something that we do that's like kind of like a setup for the next couple of sessions, because I need to kind of give justification for a few things. So I don't think we'll go like super long today, but we'll still we'll get you guys set up for like the next big, I guess, thing you're gonna be tackling.
Gotcha.
Just a little bit of setup. Plus I gotta get Yuri in, so that'll be good. But I think last time when we all played with this group, it was the Momisode, I think?
It was
I
the
think that
Momisode.
tracks. My last note in my my notes pile here is Dekir's mom is scary.
Listen, she approves of Artemy though.
She does approve of Artemy.
So you know you're in good protection hands. Not to say that obviously like Dekir and Lore aren't competent, because they very much so are, at least in combat.
We would just prefer not to.
I mean that's fair, that's true.
We won't start the conflict, but we'll end it.
Yeah, of course. By dragging people through with thorns and shit.
by grating them into a pulp.
It's a cheese grater effect. That was good. That whole cave scene was pretty cool. I liked how you guys were worried, but you honestly had it, like even without the help of some kobolds and goblins, because they didn't really do much. Honestly, I didn't want them to do too much. You all did pretty well.
Yeah, probably. It just would have taken a while.
Yeah, that's true.
It was quite the brutal fight.
Yeah, a little bit, but it's all right.
That person's never gonna get all those stones out of their skin.
No, absolutely not. Well, the ones that made it out, anyway.
Right, the ones that survived.
All right, let me find my starting point.
Chicken wing.
Ugh, snapped like a chicken wing.
Oh, that's right.
So we'll start this particular episode with a little like third party camera action. Sometimes we don't do this, but this kind of gives a little bit of background that could be interesting to some of you, maybe mortifying to others. I'm not entirely sure yet, but we'll get through it and then we'll see what the hell happens. But I'll go through my scene and then we'll establish where you all are. And for all intents and purposes, we all understand who the matriarch is, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we do.
Okay. The matriarch enters a well-kept ministry household, one that sits upon one of the few hills within the city of Solace. She ducks down as she passes through the initial foyer, her imposing frame contrasting to the size, but not the elegance of the forward room. Her heavy footsteps echo through the entryway, reflecting off the tiled floors and up the spiral staircases to a second level, only to be greeted with a familiar silence, but then a pitter-patter of small feet. Descending down the stairs, a small white rat carefully approaches, a step at a time, until it lands on the ground level. Sorry. The tip-taps of the rat echo through the room, as well before the furry creature reaches the matriarch, standing on its hind legs and arms outstretched to the visitor. It's been a bit, little one. She leans over and allows the small creature to scurry up her unarmored limb to come to a rest on her shoulder. Now, where is Shaw? The long snout of the rat points in the direction of a hallway behind the stairs, and while the matriarch follows, the furry creature eventually leads her to a conservatory nearby, where an alabaster Shaw stands tending to his plants. How are the children, Kess? I assume, aside from business, your son here in Solace is doing well? The Rat King examines a lotus, checking the petals for any sense of entropy. Alabaster, we both know you know how Dakir is doing. Your little friends here make sure of that. She carefully pets the white rat on her shoulder. I don't spy on friends and family. His gaze shifts from the lotus to the matriarch. Unless you're in need of my services once more. The Dragonborn walks more softly over, placing a hand to his shoulder flirtatiously, and gently gazes with a wry grin. Those aren't the services I've been missing. Alabaster chuckles and places his hand over hers. While I do miss the times we've shared, you have a family now, an empire even. Things have changed greatly between us, and things are changing greatly here as well, in Solace. He pats her hand as his face falls to a more serious tone. Someone is making a push for an arms race, and they're not too happy with your family name. And then we'll fade to where you gentlemen are. Sans Yuri. So I'm assuming, most of the time, it's probably either spent in the Stoneborn Manyworks or Dakir's ministry location, his office. Right now, you all are pretty much just kind of crowded in Dakir's office. I would say, generally, Artemy, you have spare time to be on like bodyguard duty, essentially. And Lore and Dakir, you all are going over some paperwork, naturally about, what to do. The general cleanup around Mom is visited, and we kind of need to get some of our business orders straightened, because it was kind of messy when she decided to show up. as you're doing so, you know that Nami downstairs is working as normal. And what generally would you all be pretty much working on as far as the next step of improving Stoneboard Many Works in order to get? Because I knew that there were some plans, but I wanted to kind of like gauge where you all are at, especially with the prototyping and moving forward with that particular design.
Well, now that we have the catalysts and the Ethereum that we need, the Aether, now it's just creating the next batch. It's creating all the actual metal, figuring out the priority of our orders, because there's a lot of people who want stuff. And
It's
also, we have to make the... let's see, I have a pepper box caster.
Ooh.
The idea is to preload spells into it so it really hurts somebody. Does really good for things like burning hands.
Ooh, that's true. So I'm assuming probably Lore's come up with a handful more of prototype blueprints.
Yeah, based on what we've run into and talking with people who are into shard locks, what they're looking for. I also have a dragonborn sized prototype is apparently what my note says.
That sounds awesome.
So like my thought on that one was it's gonna shoot like almost like a small cannonball.
Was this like, did Lore see the matriarch and was like, all right, I need something bigger?
Yeah. Especially if I'm going to be putting them in the hands of Dragonborn, they're going to need something a little bit more hefty than these. Something their hands can actually hold.
That's fair, yeah.
So a large, like, arquebus type. The idea being that it's like a shock troop weapon.
Hey, daughter.
Let's see. Do I have any other ones in here?
I would say I can't remember. I think last time he did, but would Artemy weigh in at any point in time on these prototypes?
Yeah.
Artemy would put forward like a personal project of his that he has kind of been workshopping for a long time.
Ooh.
Because, you know, Artemy has Smith's tools and Tinker's tools, and he can help out where he needs to. And while he's familiar with the ins and outs of firearms, he's kind of best in close combat. And he would try and figure out a way to... how would I phrase this? Kind of mix shardlock technology with a melee weapon of some kind. Something that can be augmented with, like, aetheric cartridges.
We're talking vaguely like a gun sword or something. Or...
Basically.
Yeah.
Legally distinct gunblade.
Please don't sue. It's a gun lock. That's what it's called. It's not. Yeah.
Gunlock.
Or a sword lock.
Lockblade.
Lockblade. Yeah, there you go. Lockblade.
That one sounds better, yeah.
Yeah. Not a warlock
So
blade.
The lock blade is in there. We'll put the lock blade on the prototype list.
And Dakir,
So that-
I was gonna say Dakir has tons of paperwork now, at least to think about. Maybe not necessarily to do, based around a lot of these prototypes, because obviously prototypes are gonna take money. They're gonna take allocation of not only like bodies on the ground, but procurement of those particular supplies, so on and so forth. So it is a lot of paperwork that I don't imagine he would enjoy. but Nami's gonna drive that home as best as she can in the idle time.
He's going to be struggling through it, and it's going to give him a massive headache because it's really hard for him to read all this stuff.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, and Nami would help in any way she can to kind of get that taken care of as best as possible, but obviously, like, she can only do so much too.
Yup. He may like just disappear for a couple hours at some point just to get himself a break.
Yeah, it's like one of those moments of being overstimulated, so he just has to kind of get away for a while.
Yep. Just hang out in his lantern for a little bit.
Yeah. At one point in time when you all are idly working on your individual projects and collaborating and whatnot, or obviously Artemy, chimes in where he can to kind of like, hey, what about this project? As the work day, as it were, comes to like midday, a little bit after, that Nami's downstairs working on normal paperwork and stuff, but it just all of a sudden it erupts into like a loud scream, and it's just it's not super blood curdling, but it's on the borderline of that is very concerning.
Artemy is, without skipping a beat, he's heading downstairs.
That's not good.
Oh shit.
Like, not a word. He is just on his way down, a hand on the sword at his waist.
As you kind of go down the stairs and round the corner, basically you just head directly downstairs, turn to the right, and that's where like Nami's front office is. You can see that she's just up on her desk, pointing down at the ground. It's kind of behind the desk itself.
I just kind of sigh. I look around. Is there a rat?
There is a rat. You can tell that it's holding something up with two hands.
I want to get mad at Nami, but it's not her fault. I look at what he's holding.
It looks like a small rat-sized note. It's like very rolled up, and it's got a small little string that's binding it closed.
It's all right. Is it just Nami in here? Has anyone followed me? Followed me down?
Lore is probably at the top of the stairs. He's not nearly as quick on the draw on this.
It's just a rat.
Just a rat.
One of ours. I unfurl the note.
Yeah, you could see like the poor rat's like looking up to Nami like, please take this, and then like you start to approach it, Artemy, and he just like it shifts its attention from Nami back to you, and it's like, oh, this person will take it, and then obviously you take the note from it. As you unfurl it, you give it a glance over, and you know that the note itself is in basically like a thieves script. You don't assume anybody else is going to be able to read this.
Gotcha.
The note itself does say, the Rat King is requesting your audience on the hour. Please bring the representative of the house and his business partner, as much of the discussion involves their input. There's also some information you'd like to know that should be spoken in private about who's been interfering with this business deal. And it just says Court of the Arche.
All right.
So after you take the note, the rat scurries off as it should, kind of hides behind the desk, or at least like a filing cabinet or something like that, and finds its way out somehow as Nami's just kind of like staring like, are we gonna have to get an exterminator? She doesn't quite understand what's going on.
Dakir didn't. No, he wouldn't.
She turns to you, Dakir, what?
They're They're friends. They bring messages.
It's a familiar delivery service, Nami. Nothing to worry about.
Rats bring messages. It's called the plague, okay? This is a clean house. I make sure it's clean.
That's a harmful stereotype.
Well, next time, make sure it uses the front door, please.
I will endeavor to bring it to them.
She kind of crawls off her desk, a little bit frustrated, not understanding, obviously, clearly, like, the connections you all have, and gets back into her desk, huffing and puffing as she goes through her paperwork again.
And I'll head back to Lore and use Firebolt to incinerate the letter.
Gotcha.
RK wants us.
Whoa.
Grab Dakir. We're leaving on the hour.
Well, I'm sure he'd be happy to hear that. Dakir, we're going out!
Deeker, you can hear echoing from like the outside. If you're in your lamp, like you can hear echoing from the outside. There's this big commotion. You hear it settled. Like you can hear pretty much everything as if it's like an echoed tone while you're just kind of like relaxing and trying to get a load off. And then you find out that you can't relax that much anymore. You have to get up and do business work. But at least it's not reading.
It's, you know, silver lining.
One of our high-end associates requires our attention.
Serpent, you there?
He's probably busy.
Oh, sorry, didn't realize I was muted. So I was like, yeah, Dakir will immediately pop out of his lamp. Oh no! Look at all this paperwork I still have to do. Well, I guess I'll just have to save it for later.
We hired an assistant yet?
Okay. Side talk. Would you have hired an assistant? Like,
I was trying to, dang it. Like, or it's like, I probably would have put in like a request for it, but we hadn't gotten around to like getting anyone yet.
okay. Side talk. It's not gonna be Yuri. Just so you know, Gray. It's not gonna be Yuri who's the assistant. You're there for other things. But
he's actually kind of disappointed.
I want to go through paper. Well, I mean, you can
Yuri loves paperwork.
You
He
can-
finds it amusing.
you can take it upon yourself to do that extra if you wanted to, but it will...
He probably will. Yes.
All right.
But the thing is, like, I probably will try to like, I probably is trying to get someone hired, but you know, like Mom had just visited, so
Yeah. Well, mutual storytelling. What would I guess the office or the house kind of need? Like, are you looking for someone that like does being a dragonborn matter? Does any of that particular matter as far as like keeping appearances up, or are you looking for someone who's a little bit less experienced than Nami, or more experienced in some ways?
I mean, Nami seems to have things fairly well in hand. Dakir doesn't really care who he hires, but if his family, like, if his mom would prefer that everyone be Dragonborn, he's like,
I don't think
kinda
that they're. I don't think the matriarch is that. Like, Kess is not that concerned with it. As long as the family name is upheld. Like, if you can hire someone that is not going to get the name dragged through the mud, then she's fine with it. I mean,
So
Dick
he
here would
probably
understand
wanna
that.
find someone who's reasonably well, who's got reasonably good qualifications, someone who can handle, like, you know, good reading, writing, possibly take dictation.
Okay, like just a
Yeah.
personal assistant for Dakir that's not Nami, because Nami kind of like takes care of the house and everything like related to like logistically.
And he was kind of like, he feels bad that he's put so much on her, so he wanted to at least get an assistant to help with the paperwork. Because
Okay.
he can't do it by himself.
We'll say that logically at this point in time, considering it's been a little bit of time since like Mom has made her like official run through of the city, and kind of like this is the tail end of it. We'll say that like Nami is starting to like within the next day, 12 hours or so, gonna be like interviewing for that particular position, so she will be kind of like the hiring coordinator of all this, and you should have some
Yes.
input in it, obviously.
Oh yeah, no, he'll have some input, but there's a 50-50 chance he may just entirely leave it entirely in her hands.
Of course, I would expect nothing less from Nakir. They seem wonderful, Navi. Hire them. They can't tie their shoes. I trust your judgment.
That's your judgment. You know, you're wonderful at this. You're a perfect person for personnel.
So as that like moment of panic of rat and blah 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 calms down, Nami starts like muttering and she's actually getting paperwork ready for those particular interviews then, and we'll kind of like determine who that is kind of going forward, who would be doing the paperwork for you all, and how vetted they are to get in through here.
Oh, I'll be doing a background check, don't worry.
Probably a good idea. But yes, obviously, Artemy has relayed information about meeting with RK at this point in time, and having a business meeting as soon as possible.
Well, I guess we got to meet with him.
Did we bring something?
You know, we should bring a gift. That'd be
Yeah.
a good idea.
So,
What's the
Yeah.
status of our winery? Like, I'm actually gonna check to see what's in our wine cellars, or what's on our racks. There's probably something good.
I guess it really all depends on how much Dakir would have requested or taken from home. Like, are you wanting some home stuff, or are you trying to procure from like all walks of life? Because you may have had access to some elven stuff too.
Oh yeah, he has access to some nice elven stuff. What? I personally can't remember. Was RK human appearing?
Yes, yeah.
Okay. But yeah, I think I might actually bring him a decent wine from home. Not one of the really good ones because he's a little selfish, but a decent one, like a decently good one.
Not the $20
And it's really hard-
table wine, but
Not the $20 table wine, but also not like the $300 exceptional vintage that only his family has because it's their own personal supply. It's like, no, he's not gonna go that far, but it's like something nice.
that's fair. Okay.
He wouldn't have $20 table wine. What do you think he is, a pleb?
Well, you never know. He could be giving that out to people that just don't like, this wine tastes good, and starts chugging it from the bottle. I would think that Dakir plays nice with just about everybody, as does like Lore. So I can imagine them having some wine to be like, I can't really give away a like fancy shit, but I'll give you something to get drunk on.
yeah, we hook up our guests. Absolutely.
Roll a d20, Dakir. I want to see like the higher the roll, the better quality stuff and the amount that you would have like in stock in the basement.
Oh fuck. Well, it is. If it's that bad, then I'm like, I need to go to the market.
Did you roll super low?
I rolled a 2.
Yeah, you forget, or you forgot that at one point in time you had a fundraiser that you were running, and you forgot to restock afterwards. Like you had told, you were like, Nami's like, hey, Dakir, we should probably restock since we're so low. We had a fundraiser of like just getting our name out there basically.
And it just got you know what, the requisition request, or like the thing to order more, got lost in the paperwork.
Yeah.
And he doesn't know where it is right now. And he's like, crap. I need to go buy some new. I need to buy some. Okay, I need to buy good wine. Like, let's go to the market. Let's see what we can find. Holy shit.
Okay.
Now I feel bad.
All right. So yeah. I mean, that comes to mind. You're like, wait, we're gonna make bring a gift, and then obviously like that just you go down, and then it just remembers. It's that ADHD moment, like, fuck, I forgot to put my clothes in the washer. So it's that moment, like, oh
Shit,
no.
I forgot to order more wine.
Yeah.
Damn it. Oh, I need to get on that. Where'd I put that? No time. Let's just go buy a bottle now.
All right. So as you rep some things up, obviously you get You get going to, I guess, the market district first before you start wandering off into the working district. But it just so happens, though, one of your relatively favorite places to go, the Boisterous Bar, does have some like small casks and even bottles for sale. And it's obviously not overly expensive. They try to walk the middle road between fancy and casual, but you're able to kind of like snag a few bottles if you wanted to from that location, or maybe even put on an order to have some sent back to your house.
Yeah, he'll take one, and like he'll have a few extra bottles brought back home, sent home.
Yeah, emergency bottles just in case.
Yeah. Just in case, until he can actually get the order out and get his cellars restocked. Jeez Louise.
Yeah,
How did I let that slip?
it's pretty slim, but I mean, you'll make it work. It's just a little bit of resources. Eventually, you find your way into Shambles Row. Same old, same old. Some of you have been there probably a little bit more frequently than others. It is a very long, lengthy alleyway lined with just boarded up doors, some homelessness, and some of you know that it is simply some of these individuals may be watching and reporting back to the various guilds that are out there, but it's definitely not something that normal people would go walking through on a regular basis. Either you're passing through, you're donating your time to help some of the homeless, or you're there for a reason. And your guys' reason is obviously approaching RK's door, and I believe you all have went through the scenario before of entering his location.
Oh, yes. We gave them cheese.
So you knock on the door. Obviously, a little rat pops their head out, looking for an offering of either food or shinies.
And I hold out a bottle of wine.
The rat is confused for a moment. He just kind of looks up and tries to paw at it, and then realizes it's not going to be able to carry this back through, and then lets go, and then scurries back in the hole. And then you hear the click of the door, whatever mechanism kind of opens up. You all are allowed to walk into the foyer, or the entryway, and like an airlock, that door shuts behind you, and then a new one opens after a very brief moment, and you kind of see the foyer of RK's mansion.
Step inside.
Are there any comfortable seats to take?
Yeah, there's a few seats nearby, but as you all walk in, RK is walking out from the back of where would assumingly be his courtyard, and just basically greets you with the matriarch. Your mother, Kess Dikir, is actually there as well.
He will kind of pause. There'll be a momentary hesitation. It's like, oh, I was not expecting this. Okay, interesting. He'll step inside.
As you kind of come into a better view, all of you do see that they are. Well, go ahead and roll an insight check if you want to try to read the situation.
Oh, I will absolutely try. I got a 12.
Okay.
Ah, yes.
I'll do it
Things
with
are
my
looking
very
up.
good wisdom.
What's that, Artemis?
Is that just for him, or can...
No, I mean anybody that's there can read the room, if they so desire.
Let's do this with a strong -1.
Hell yeah.
Oh, the bot doesn't work in here. Shit.
Apparently not. You just roll it wherever.
Yeah, I'll just DM the bot. Seven. Nah.
We're just here to have a good time.
So while Artemia, you enter the room, you notice that Kess and RK just kind of enter in from behind the stairs. Have you, first and foremost, have you been privy to much of the location of RK's little mansion here? I don't know how much business that Artemia would have done with RK in general, or is it just kind of like exchanges of pleasantries, maybe taking some contracts once in a while?
Probably that sort of thing. Like how, because Artemie has been with the Whisper for the better part of like 10 or so years.
Yeah.
Like since he was a kid. So like, is RK like a new person on the block, or has he just been around as long or longer than he has, for all he knows?
He's been around for a very long time. I would say that then in that particular case, it's very likely that Artemie has taken some contracts with the approval of the Whispers from RK, but not really like done a heavy amount of jobs. You've probably done more jobs for Stinky than RK.
Yeah, it's probably not met in person very often.
Yeah, okay. You just know that they're coming from behind the stairwell. You don't really know how expansive this particular mansion is, but your mind goes more so to the note than anything. So you're a little bit more distracted than reading the room. You're like, what the fuck? You know, what the hell was that supposed to mean on that note? I wonder what's going to happen here.
Yeah, he's more concerned with the practicalities of the situation.
Yeah. Dakir, you notice that, you know, like when it's not to the greatest degree, but do you know when you catch two kids that have done something they probably shouldn't have, and they have a little bit of distance to them, but there's a feeling of they just got up to some trouble, but you're not entirely sure what. That kind of hits Dakir in kind of like a, mom, what's going on, mom? Like that kind of way.
What is going on between these two? Okay.
So Kess is a little bit more smiley than usual for mom.
Okay, that's weird. Oh, yeah. He's gonna log that away like, huh, okay, strange. I don't know what happened here. This is weird. Mom's usually not in that kind of mood. Okay.
So Kess will walk up to everyone, obviously, and she'll address you as a whole, especially obviously her son. Dakir, we have some business that we have to take care of before I leave. So if you don't mind taking a seat. And RK is just kind of like walking alongside, just kind of like almost like monitoring the situation or waiting for a moment for when he should kind of like chime in. But there are some comfortable seats and like some small, almost like tea tables, you know, something that's not really like extravagant and long for a foyer, but enough seats and like cushioned benches for all of you to sit down.
Well, Dakir will step forward, present the wine bottle as he places it onto RK's desk, table, whatever it is, right we're sitting at. Is it for you, my lord? Trust you will enjoy the vintage.
RK kind of walks over and takes a look at the bottle. Oh, it's a very beautiful vintage. Would you want me to get some glasses for everyone?
It is a gift to you. If you wish to share it, by all means.
Well, maybe some drinks are in order. I'll be back with some glasses. And he just kind of like walks off briefly, with keeping the wine at the table, and Kess, ever matriarchal, continues to stand. Obviously, the way that she normally comes off is very authoritative, and she doesn't really, despite the fact that her appearance seems a little bit more slightly joyful, or at least gleeful, happy. than she's used to, a little bit less stern. She still has a very authoritative stance when looking over the group. And
The cure will sit into the chair, and he will even cross, like, put his ankle onto his knee. Just very casually.
very casually.
Yeah, it's time to take the
Very
silent sit down.
intentionally, very intentionally casual.
Kess addresses all of you. She looks each one of you over as she starts in. So it's clearly there's something afoot here when it comes to the sabotage of our progress, and I can't have that for our family name. There's a few things that I need you all to get done for me, and one of which is undertaking a historically adept individual as well as a legal aid to undergo a lot of our research for your blueprints, and she points to Lore. This individual has proven himself to be very, very competent in these two areas as well as many others, and he is a rather familiar local to this area.
Very well.
Sounds good. I definitely could use more eyes on our projects here, yeah. Especially since I'm the head researcher. And what would his particular role be?
Well, he does help in the regards to any kind of legal complications that we may come across. And with that being said, there, especially within Solace, there is a particular legal case to be made when someone is to find what is called an aether font. An aether font is a vast concentration of etheric power within the land. And whenever one of those spots happened, there's kind of like a rush, a land rush to claim that for whomever may do it, whether it be a principality, whether it be a private company. And we, with the help of this new individual, have found that there is one nearby, Solace, but we need to secure it so we can have a constant flow of our resources to produce these firearms.
Incredible. That would resolve quite a few of the bottlenecks we've been running into recently.
With his knowledge, we should be able to accurately locate it, as no one has put their finger on it just quite yet. And also with his help, we should be able to secure a legal right to it through the laws of Solace. And almost as if by cue, you hear the kind of airlock doors open up, and you see an individual that walks through, and he looks slightly older, at least a little bit of age under his belt, but he looks to be as if he's a half-elf. Very well dressed, very proper, or at least seemingly very proper, and this individual garners the attention of Kess as she kind of like motions with her hand as she's like towering above, I would think, everybody here, and he points into Yuri's direction. This is your new help, Yuri.
The cure will stand and extend a hand toward the new individual. Well,
Your
pleasure
Grace,
to meet you, Mr. Yuri.
gentlemen. Pleasure to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
I believe your my Lord Dakir, I believe your lady mother has informed you of the services that I'm to be providing you.
Yes, she mentioned it.
Excellent. I believe it's Lorelei, right?
Lorley.
Lorelei? Okay. Master Lorelei, I will also be assisting you in business matters as you find useful to you.
Oh, yes, good. Very good. I could use some assistance on that matter. So, looking forward to work with you, Yuri.
There's a creeping suspicion that there may be a lawsuit somewhere in Lore's future with caustic aether dumps.
I don't know how
Mhm.
much Yuri has been informed of the current situation, but yeah.
Stoneborn Many Works would never do that. Never.
Wigged in chat.
Never.
We have plausible deniability. It's
That's
fine.
true. Where's
I've been
your...
doing taxes for months.
I was
Sorry, did you
nowhere
need
near
some
that.
assistance with the matter?
Who's the highest bidder? But no, I would think Kess would probably fill in Yuri as much as possible with the current situation. So there is no like etheric dump sites that Lore has been using. It's all been pretty above board, at least from those particular standards. So the only legal complication that you can see is what you were put on retainer for from Kess, is to finding the approximate location of this Aether font and then trying to secure it legally for basically the house. And you don't have an exact location, but you do have an approximate area that that you will look like. All historic records point to a specific
Right.
kind of like general area within the Solace Timber, which is kind of like the bigger foresty area outside of Solace.
Right. Yuri would probably have tracked down any of the basically the listings of like landowners and that kind of thing in a general radius around that particular area. Just seeking like a sort of like permissions and seeing who's the current owner and what kind of like you know like who would be in charge of like any you know attempts at like sale or purchase,
Gotcha.
that kind of thing.
Okay, we'll keep that down. I'm trying to think, we might have to write some notes for that. Aside from that, once Kess does the introduction and everything, she also makes mention, as RK is kind of like strolling back with some glasses. He does have an extra glass for Yuri because he knew he was coming. He's kind of in the middle of Kess kind of explaining everything. He's putting down glasses for everyone and uncorks the bottle, pours everyone at least a sip's worth. Nothing like too much, just in case you don't drink too much. But he's very conservative with the amount of wine that he pours for everybody. He does tend to pour probably. Dakir will notice your mom gets a little bit more wine, but everyone else kind of gets like a smaller portion. Yeah. Go ahead if you needed to say anything.
I don't need to say anything.
Okay.
He observes quietly.
Okay. As that's happening, Kess will go on to explain and say that I always murder your house name.
Kinzontuzsegol.
Yeah, Kinzontuzsegol, House Kinzontuzsegol, and RK have taken out a writ with Solace Salvage to pursue some bandits that may lead to those responsible for some theft of some of those supplies that you all recovered in that cave. Coincidentally, it is vaguely near the same location that is tracked down by Yuri in his spare time when he was on retainer. Still technically on retainer. In that independent research the two areas kind of coincide, but there is a vast need for you all to kind of do a like investigation, as well as assisting with that Salas salvage mission to go find these bandits, reclaim whatever information you can, and kind of go through that process of figuring out if you can find that Aether font at the same time. Because if the bandits are trying to get it for some reason, or who knows what could be the actual main motivation there. But your mother is, or the matriarch, is very adamant about making sure that the house claims it first.
Well, this is incredible news.
Yeah, that's very convenient for both of those things. I think we can handle that.
Well, I mean, I say we get prepared and we shut off very soon, shortly.
Okay, shouldn't be too big a problem.
Yeah, give me 1 second. As you kind of enjoy the rest of your wine, and the bulk of you are talking with Kess, you see that RK kind of motions for another individual coming from the back end of the stairs. He looks to be like an individual who's wearing like a Stetson hat, almost like a poncho in nature, and you notice that one of his arms is missing. And that individual looks towards Artemy and kind of motions for him to kind of follow him.
While everyone else is since I guess sitting and enjoying their wine, and Artemy will take the air with a nod. I'll be with you shortly.
Everybody's allowed to kind of like go about and familiarize yourself a little bit. Kess is entertaining everyone as best as she can, and asking everybody to drink up, and she's really excited about, at least when she's talking to Lore at this particular point in time, super excited about the joint ventures that her family and your knowledge and prowess with like what you're building. She's super excited about what the future holds. And what all you can do together to kind of like not only push her house above the others on the scale dial, but also you and your name as a pioneer in Shardlock technology.
Oh yeah, Laura's enjoying every moment of that. And definitely puffing up his chest and taking note of one of the larger families that's gotten in behind Stoneborn Manyworks here, and ensuring that this business venture goes through without a hitch and above the expectations of the matriarch. So I'm pulling out like blueprints and the rough drawings for a dragonborn shock troop weapon. Easy to load, that kind of stuff for her. Although it's probably over her head.
Maybe. She could be familiar-ish with things, but obviously she has a different way of usually dealing with conflict.
Mm-hmm.
She's familiar enough to know that she should invest into it, but she's obviously not familiar enough with the specifics, because that kind of mechanism knowledge is definitely left in the like the masterful hands of yours at this point in time.
So I take a sort of almost academic educational approach and sort of encourage questions to keep the conversation going. because this is probably one of the few times that Lore can actually interact with an investor and get in close and also possibly gain some political aspirations here.
Ooh.
Because this is things are looking up for Lore, and Lore's like, yeah, okay, maybe we could do a little bit more with the name of Dunekill.
Everything's coming up, Dunekill.
Everything's coming up, Dunekill.
As an addition to that, you look over those blueprints, and as Laura is explaining, you're like, this is probably gonna be like, you can see the logistical hurdles, at least within lawmaking, that he would have to go through to get these like legalized, not only for like a military force, but also for any kind of like personal use. It would be, at least the personal use would be a nightmare.
Oh dear, yes. Honestly, like, I could imagine the Magelocks being like we're gonna have to arrange some new like zoning issues, quite possibly some new regulations for materials for that buildings need to be made out of, that kind of thing.
Oh yeah, licenses, everything.
Oh dear lord, yes.
I would think that at least Yuri would know that right now the agency, which is like the policing force of Solace, has some of these at their disposal, not nearly as complicated as what Lore's trying to come up with. So they kind of have, at least with some of their higher officials that you have encountered from time to time, not too frequently, because I don't think that there's very many major cases that you get too entwined with, but you do know that they do have some, and like the night and day difference between the capabilities of what Lore's trying to do versus what they currently have would definitely, that's a very big bridge to cross.
Right.
So you all kind of entertain Kess and go back and forth about that. Artemy, you're pulled aside by a one-armed man, and without skipping a beat, just kind of nods and he goes, "So it seems as though you have some business with these individuals. Rat King wanted me to tell you that the individuals that were stealing, at least as far as he's aware, stealing some of these parts, were part of the messengers."
You're certain of this?
He is almost certain. You know how much or how many eyes he has across the city?
I do, but I know how many eyes they have. It's
Oh,
possible they're seeding information, but
it is possible, but what would they see their own information for?
well, Mousetrap maybe?
We just know that the Whispers and the Messengers do not get along too well.
You're right, they don't.
We also want to make sure that this particular contract is not going to be any kind of conflict of interest for you.
No, I don't think so.
As long as we're okay there, but you should obviously watch your back. This is not something that you should tread lightly on, and just understand that this may go a little bit deeper than what we understand at this point in time.
What's your name?
Yeah, my name is Valentino. The type of work that I do is very freelance. Right now I'm under contract for RK, but most of the time I am a freelance.
Keep me updated on this messenger business, will you?
Yeah, we'll try my best. But
I have a personal interest.
Oh, that's all right. Well, we'll do our best. If I hear anything personally, I'm sure RK will keep me posted. I am acting as someone with a neutral interest, but you know, I follow the money. And at least right now,
That I suppose we're alike.
oh yes, RK has the most money at this point in time. But you know, when I take a job, I follow it through.
It just kind of nods at that.
He nods back as he's kind of like he turns and walks away, but you can tell that he has a couple of shard locks on his belt and like a bandolier full of aether crystals for like reloads and shit. Not entirely sure. Maybe he has some kind of particular interest in this and whatnot, but yeah, he's definitely got some expensive gear on him, which means he's earned that money one way or another. And you can go ahead and roll an insight check for me.
Oh, I'm real good at those.
Yeah.
The bot, another message. He's 2. Not great.
You can't pin this guy down. Seems
Yeah.
generally okay, but you're not entirely sure. You know, it's just as nebulous as you started. You know, if he's working for Arcane, he says the truth, then you know, it is what it is.
Valentino, you said his name was, right?
Yeah, Valentino.
Gotcha.
But yeah, you all see Artemy kind of walk back from meeting the one-armed individual.
Just kind of sit back down on the far side of the room to where I can see everybody.
Kess approaches Dakir and is just like, son, you have done a lot of work, and I understand that it has been very hard. I will be taking my leave very shortly. I have concluded all the business that I have here, and if there is any emergencies, please let Nami know, and she will contact me as soon as she can.
Of course. Thank you, Mother, for your visit. It has been pleasant.
Your mother has to make sure, obviously, everything at home isn't falling apart as well.
Of course.
As you kind of like hear her voice, you notice that when she says back home, there's a little bit of a wavering, as if there's some kind of emotional backing to it, and you don't quite know why. Like, it catches you off guard. Your mom is not really terribly emotional most of the time, so it's another oddity that you're just kind of spotting in her like tone when she's addressing you.
Is there anything of concern going on home?
You can tell that she both wants to say something and not at the same time. You're in mixed company, and you see that like she kind of straightens her back out more, gets more prim and proper. You know, the whole matriarch. She asserts that role and just like fully embodies it in that moment. As you notice that even though you said, "Should I be worried about something?" she snaps back into "Gotta be strong" mode, and she just says, "No, everything at home is okay. And maybe once this is all over, you can come and visit."
He just nods once in understanding.
And with that, as you all kind of finish your drinks, RK approaches all of you and just says, if there's anything else you all need, just please let me know. And you may exit at any point in time. Morgan.
Well, I should go find some plate armor or something if we're gonna go out and do some sort of work. Sounds like it's gonna be a little bit more dangerous.
It does sound pretty iffy.
I think that's everything we'll need for the coming excursion.
So you do know
I
that
think it'll be fine.
Solace Salvage has the writ. In the talkings, it might be good to go and check in with them. Maybe they have something to kind of fill you in more, or at least you can see what that particular part of that scenario is for to kind of fulfill the writ. But it's getting late at this point in time. You do have some information to go on, and you're more than welcome to conclude your day however you would like.
Definitely head to Solace Salvage and talk with Prophet at some point. Get that writ from them.
Gotcha.
Or I might
Yeah.
inquire with you later about skimming through each other's spellbooks.
Ooh, yes.
Ooh.
Well, let me
That's
go-
right. I have to teach Dakir how to find a familiar.
Yes, yes, please.
So that's something we have to do. Yeah, so we need to have a spell study party.
Oh my god, a spell slumber party? Is that what you're gonna have?
A spell study party.
Spell study party.
Well, you can break open more wine. Yeah, more.
exactly.
You can.
I just
Yes.
bought some. It'd be perfect time.
It's going to be there when we get there. It's going to be great. We've already planned out the evening.
You know, it's just things just work out.
Hell yeah.
Like, I'm starting to get the feeling that's just Dakir's lifestyle. It's like, you know what? Things will just work out. I'll figure it out. It'll happen.
Stop acting like me, Dakir. It's not healthy, I promise you.
We're just very in the moment.
What we'll do is let's take like a few minutes just for break. Even for me, I gotta go whiz. And then we'll come back.
Yeah, I need a drink.
And yeah, we'll go from there. So just 5 minutes or so.
Good call.
Gotcha.
Be back in a
Alright.
moment.
All right, be back. Yeah, anytime you want to redeem something like that, Morgan, just tell me who it is, and then that particular player will notate it. So that way they can just kind of pop it on their sheet and then go from there. Give me just a few minutes. We're going to go ahead and take a small break. I got to use the bathroom, and let's see if this actually works out properly for me. All right. Nope, wrong one. Hold on. Wrong one. Okay, be right back. All right. Okay, so as we kind of like resume this, we'll say for simplicity's sake, once Artemy goes over to Solace Salvage, briefly checks in with them, you notice that one of the usual workers at the front desk, just another mercenary. Rotha isn't in at that point in time, but he will be back.
Shame.
He will be back basically the day after. You are handed a copy of the writ, and whenever the individual at the front desk just basically says, if you don't mind coming back tomorrow, I know that Rotha has more information about this particular writ that I do, and he'll be able to kind of explain what's happening so far. I just know it's complicated, and he kind of like, gives you that particular writ.
We should be able to stop by in the morning.
And you can see the usual mixed bag of like mercenaries and mismatched individuals kind of like in there, either training, eating, sleeping, or getting ready to head out on another writ, as it is basically more organized mercenary work. Something that you're probably familiar with.
Yeah, I've been here more than once.
Yeah. But then you can obviously head back to wherever you need to go, and you can do anything else in the night if you wanted to.
Probably rendezvous with everyone else. Get Lore kitted out with some armor.
Lore's becoming Iron Man, Iron Dwarf.
I took heavy armored for a reason. I definitely
true.
want to be the big tin can on the battlefield.
Big tin can, hell yeah. Okay, well, let's have a little fun with this. Yuri, you are put up in well, with the help of Kes, you have your own private funds. I can say that Yuri has enough standing within the city to probably live in either the merchant, probably the merchant district, which is, it's better off, right? It's within like the city proper. There's usually a little bit more foot traffic, but in the good kind of way. And you don't really have to live in the working district because you have no dependents. You don't really have many bills, and you're basically a lawyer, so you get paid a fair amount, especially on retainer, to kind of live wherever you want. You are offered a place in the ministry district, which is typically a little bit more secure than the market district, because it's where all obviously the magistrates and dukes and house representatives live. But Kes offers you, as part of your duties, a place in the ministry district if you feel like Yuri isn't well established in the market district and would loathe moving all of his stuff.
I mean, first question is, the ministry district is the place that has the library, right?
Yes.
He'd jump at it.
Okay. All right, cool. Hey, whatever, yeah. And it could be like, maybe Yuri has, even though he's not the typical bard, maybe he has a mentality of like, I just need to go where I feel more inspired. And if the library is definitely more inspiring for him, then he's gonna head over to the ministry. So I would think beforehand, before you kind of like introduce yourself to the group, you were given that opportunity to kind of move your stuff over from the market to the ministry and find a substantially nicer place. You know that the streets are typically a little bit quieter, but in a good way, as usually the agency patrols those areas a lot more, especially at night, than the market. And then the market gets patrolled more than the working district is kind of sadly a little bit farther removed from the eyes of the agency, especially at nighttime. But yeah, you have a pretty nice place that you could stay in. But it is within walking distance of the Dakir's house. Dakir and Lore, what all were you wanting to accomplish with your slumber party?
I need to teach the Find Familiar spell to Dakir. We were probably going to trade rituals.
Yuri would probably try to sit in on that if you guys don't mind.
Absolutely not. That's going to be great. We definitely all want to trade spells. We all want a spell study party.
You guys are pulling out your magic cards and making trades.
Making trades, but also there'll be drinks.
Oh, that's true. Lord, love.
Oh, that's true.
Yuri would actually probably bring a nice brandy as a housewarming gift. Or
Ooh.
whatever you call it.
It could be just for the occasion. 3 distinguished gentlemen just taking upon drinks, comparing notes, nerding out on spells.
Discussing magic and its finer points.
It really is just 3 fancy gentlemen nerding out.
I'll probably
Mind
be back
Dakir
later.
has an intelligence of 10, so his nerding out is going to be filled with a lot of like, oh yes, I like the squiggle bit there. It's very good.
Incredible.
Yuri will take note of that. Where exactly are we having this party anyway? At Dakir's place?
Yeah.
Yes, because of course.
It's funny because like Nami's probably overhearing a little bit of this stuff. Like she does have a room off this particular house, or off of the house itself. So she hears almost like, you know, just 3 grown men talking about these spells, and then she hears Dakir kind of pipe up, and she doesn't know anything about spell casting necessarily, but she understands that there is a almost like a lack of eloquence when it comes to describing said spells when she's comparing how Dakir is talking to how Lore and Yuri are discussing spells, and it's not concerning. She just kind of, you can hear her giggle from time to time when Dakir pipes up. It's like the squiggle bits. And she's just like, oh, Dakir.
I'm trying to decide whether or not Yuri would go into like instructor mode, because he totally would if Dakir lets him. Because like if he says squiggly bits, if Dakir says squiggly bits, Yuri probably will step in and start like, you know, saying basically like giving a more elaborate description of like the of the symbols, and ones that, you know, sound a little better than squiggly bits.
That's fair.
If you correct him to like rune, he's like, yes, that. I'm just imagining like the classic thing where the person is trying to act like they know what they're talking about and they clearly don't.
That's what I said. Exactly. Like you were just trying to keep it simple for his sake, right? Yeah, that's what you were doing.
Of course.
Sorry, well, Artemis was gonna do something too. I
I think
apologize.
Artemis is joining us because I think he also is a wizard.
Yeah,
That is true.
it was delayed a little bit at Sol Salvage, but we'll probably be back.
From your
All
experience,
spellcasters.
yeah, that is that. I was, you know what? That's perfectly fine. I actually really like the idea that this is majoritively spellcasting. The party has commenced as Artemis kind of like walks through. You already have 3 gentlemen comparing notes and talking about spells. You do notice as you enter.
What's this about squiggly bits?
This is like the parts when you're setting up the ritual or in the circle thing.
He's kind of sure. I guess that's technically correct.
You can still hear Nami kind of just giggling from the back. But as per usual, it ain't no house. House Kinzontuzsegol party like a drinking party. There's always imbibery shenanigans
Oh, hell yeah.
being had whenever there's and this has happened more than once, especially when Artemy has been like assigned to this particular family. So it is I guess it is more of a surprise that Yuri brings more alcohol to this party because he's the new one. So, but it's like he automatically knew that this was going to be a drinking scenario, so he's like, all right, cool. Just adds to the shenanigans.
It's more of a thing that he finds that to be kind of like polite. To like bring a gift when he's coming into a place that he's not like, familiar with. He's basically a new person too.
Yeah, that's fair.
And hey, you just happened on like the favorite gift of this particular household.
Exactly.
Makes the thoughts go away.
So Yuri, and then Artemy will kind of sit down with the rest of them. I've seen these two in action. I've seen Dakir fling people around like a rag doll. I've seen Lord smack someone upside the head with a warhammer. Things might get a little hairy tomorrow. What can you do?
Me?
I?
A little bit of swordplay, a little bit of magic.
It's kind of nods, much the same. I think we'll get along just fine.
I believe so.
The shops were probably closed on your way back home for Lore's perspective armor. However, I did want to see if we can have just a quick series of rolls for maybe one chosen prototype of Lore that he may have been working on, as we kind of prospectively look forward towards the next day of what he can grab on his way to Sala Salvage that may kind of be in working order.
What would you like me to roll for that?
Well, choose a blueprint first, and then we'll go from there.
Let's see here. Well, I like the idea of the pepper box because it looks like a lot of us are in close range. So I'll go with that or the pistol, whichever one is most reasonable.
If it's a smaller design, which the pistol or the pepper, how big is the pepper box? Is this gonna be like a sawed off, like that kind of size?
Yeah, like it's pretty much a sawed-off shotgun with like 8 barrels.
Okay. Either or. If you want to roll for which one you want to choose, odds and evens, you're more than welcome to do that.
Yeah, let me look. Let me see.
We'll kind of get a little special surprise.
Okay. I will be choosing the pepper box.
Okay. So, let's roll for overall design. Go ahead and roll a d20 plus. Do you have any like artisan, any kind of like crafting? I'm trying to look at this character sheet real quick.
Oh goodness. I'm proficient in Smith's tools, but I don't think I actually took like the crafting skill.
That's okay. Let us do. Let us do a. Just go ahead and roll a d20, and then we'll say add your intelligence modifier and your proficiency bonus.
Okay.
Would I be able to help him, like just with the manufacturing of this?
Yeah, if you want to actually aid him, I will give him advantage. If you've been through this entire process helping him out, he can use aid basically through these next set of rolls.
Yeah, Artemy is more than familiar with firearm shit, so he would be helping out at basically every stage.
Okay.
So I'll roll my Arcana since that's the
Same
D20
thing.
plus intellect plus proficiency.
Okay.
apparently out of 2 rolls. Oh no. Out of 2 rolls, 23.
Oh, okay. You're pretty confident that the design and the make so far of the pepper box, there's gonna be very little errors with it. Meaning, if you, we'll just blanket statement this for right now until we get something on paper. But if you were to say roll a critical failure, you're pretty confident that there's not going to be a catastrophic failure. You may get a weapon jam, but you're confident that when you're doing, you're basically using these shards, this ammunition through this pepper box, that when you hit the hammer, if it fails, it's just going to jam. It's not going to blow up in your face. So you're very confident of this build structure.
That's fantastic. Safety is the do and kill way.
We'll say a little bit of lore to it. You've actually on the actual hammers themselves, you've inscribed runes basically of like counterspelling. So what'll happen is
that's great.
the shards themselves will get projected out and then the spell hits. But if for some reason it jams, the counterspelling runes on the hammers themselves kick into place and nullify what the spell would do at that point in time, so you don't get an explosion.
That's fantastic. That's an incredible addition.
So it took you a little bit of time to do that, obviously, but again, safety is key. You want to make sure that the people that are buying your weapons aren't going to be losing their hands.
Right. We don't want our users to be these statistics here.
Yeah, exactly.
Fuck that. Black powder blast. Have at 'em.
The other people go boom, not the user go boom.
Mm-hmm. Very
Um,
important.
Okay, so let's go ahead and roll for the we'll say it's like the spell potency that you get within the barrel design. So go ahead and roll that again. That same roll, Arcana. And you get advantage too.
Yeah, it looks like this time it's a 14.
14? Okay. We'll say that the pepper box can be kitted out with, at least this particular prototype, can only be kitted out with one particular type of spell whenever you're feeding those shards into the barrels. So the premise would be that you can only assign one type of spell. Say it's what was the one, like you had burning hands or something like that? I forgot.
Right, it'd be like burning hands or
Yeah.
shocking grasp, things like that.
Gotcha. So for this instance, you would only be able to describe one spell type. You would not be able to like stack spells or anything like that, or different types of spells within the barrels. You haven't gotten quite the nuance to ascribe different spells per barrel, so they all kind of have to be the same type of spell or the same spell itself for each of the shards loaded in. So you couldn't alternate barrels between different spells. It has to be all one spell.
So we're talking like the color spray cannon here.
It would be more so like all the shots that exit the barrel are like burning hands. You wouldn't be able to do burning hands, shocking grasp, and then like poison spray, and you haven't gotten it quite to that type of like barrel articulation. It has to be all one spell. The runes were conflicting with one another on the barrels, so you're like, okay, well for right now, this prototype, we can just have all the barrels do the same spell. And let's do one more roll for the efficiency in which the shards can be attuned.
Okay. Ooh. Yikes. So I rolled a 2 and then a 1. So a 7.
Okay. For what you are trying to do, so you'll probably be able to do maybe like 4 shards, so like 4 individual bullets, per 10-minute ritual at this point in time. So you can take a fair amount of time to get a bunch of shards ready, but at this point in time, you haven't quite figured out the proper type of like etheric crystal that you would need to basically have it take a certain type of spell more easily. So whenever you're doing your ritual and like performing that time, the calculations that you're coming up with aren't that efficient at this point in time.
We focused everything on safety and sustainability of the model.
Yes.
But do we have a choice on what spell we want in this thing?
It would be, at least for you, it would be a spell that you would have access to.
Ooh. It's a pepper box. Let me look at the spells I have. Well, magic missile seems really funny.
It's literally a magic missile.
Just the magic missile cannon. The magic missile, you'll never miss.
It's true. I would still have you roll to hit, but here's what we're gonna do. Because of this, because basically you are more or less you're preloading the quote unquote spell slot into this particular gun, you would essentially get a free spell slot when you fire that particular gun, with as many shots as you can like prepare. So it's kind of like free spell slots. Whenever you do have enough shards that access them, that kind of makes it really nice, especially for the non-magical user. If they can get a magic user that just basically says, I'm going to prepare these shells for you, you're going to be able to shoot a fucking fireball out of your pistol. Have fun, and then a layperson could just pick it up and use it. This, we will equate it to, let's see, Dart does 1d4. So if it's pepper box with 8 barrels, you do, I guess we'll just do 8d4 if you take the time to prep all those shells. But it would shoot once and you'd have to hit, and we'd probably do something like, I want to actually make this more of an intelligence roll. So all of you would probably be fairly proficient in it, except for maybe Takir.
Sure, let me roll. I'll roll intelligence. Why the heck not?
You could probably figure it out, you know.
I got a 10.
You might be, you know, thank God that there's fucking safeties on it. I'll just say that.
You point this end at the thing, don't you?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. So I showed the team the entry level pepper box, meant to be used by anybody. It'll only jam and never explode, and it always hits what you shoot at, probably.
Maybe, probably.
I haven't tested it.
It has not been tested. So, of course, I ask, who wants to do that?
Well, it's magic missiles, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Shoot it at me.
Uh-oh. We have, you know what? For the cutscene, we probably have some shells for it.
Yeah, you
I'll
probably
use-
got at least the full, like, you took 20 minutes, you attuned eight shells, 8 shards for the pepper box for the attempt, and then yeah, you've got a full 8 barrels worth.
So let's I imagine that they're going to be okay. So I pull out the pepper box and I give it a good a shoot here.
It's all right. And so I don't take 8d4 fucking damage. I'm gonna cast shield,
Okay.
which makes me immune to magic missile.
Okay.
That's perfect.
But it does. I'll let Cannon describe what it does.
No, you can describe it if you want.
All right, go ahead, Laura.
So a horrible sound is emitted as all 8 of the shells explode at once. And 8 darts of magic missile fly out at the same time and arc around crazily, and then slam into Artemis' shield, dissipating themselves, fortunately. But they all sort of home in like they're supposed to. At least in this instance where nobody's moving and everything's perfectly okay.
And it's after conjuring this like semi-translucent veil of abjuration magic with his free hand, and the magic missiles kind of ground themselves on the shield. I think it works.
Oh, it doesn't even have very much kick either. Loud
That
though.
was very pretty.
Yeah, you can see
Now
the
I'm gonna...
remnants of like blue etheric dust kind of like dissipate into the air as if it's like smoke.
Seriously, like he's even like golf clapping.
This is so like deep south. I don't know if you guys realize it, right?
Just
Right?
guys being dudes shooting some fucking guns.
Fucking shoot me, bro. You guys are drunk, shooting guns at one another late at
They're
night.
drunk late at
Yeah.
night.
Shooting guns at each other. No, dude, totally. I got my bulletproof vest on. So let's test it out, man.
Bro, do you think I could beat up a bear?
Absolutely. It does work. Now I gotta remake all those shells though.
Yeah. So I would think that at least for like the next night, you can, we'll say those are pre-prepped. You know, it took you a little bit of time to prep some more. You have enough resources to have like one more shot, at least at this current time, until you can refine more at the warehouse. So you'll be able to get a free refill, at least for whatever next venture you do, until you have a little bit more time. A bugbear.
Oh, and
Nice.
Akir does summon a familiar.
Ooh.
His familiar is like it's a long hair, like mostly white, but like I almost want to say like a kind of like if a Siamese is a long hair kind of coloration,
Okay.
but a long hair cat. She immediately
Nice.
names Kazbreath, which in Draconic, or at least in the Skyrim Dragon Tongue, basically translates to pretty kitty.
It's how befitting for Dakir to call something pretty kitty.
Oh yeah. Like
Himalayan?
a Himalayan cat.
Oh, Dakir, did you notate the inspiration for you?
But I will.
Okay. Just in case that comes up, you're like, I gotta grab this gun. Might be helpful.
It may be a Himalayan cat, if that's what it's supposed to be. Let me look.
Yeah, as notes are compared.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Himalayan is right up his right exactly what she would look like. It is a female cat.
Floofy Siamese. Oh, okay. You know, at some point in time, this is just an aside for everybody. At some point in time, we'll have to like generate separate images for familiars, because we do have a lot of familiars in these games. Now that I'm thinking about it.
I think Yuri's the only one who doesn't have one.
Yeah.
Percy has a familiar. He just hasn't had any real screen time yet.
That's true.
Yeah, Familiar Fight Club.
God, oh yeah, we gotta do that
We still
still.
haven't built that.
Okay. I'll juggle that too.
Hey, you know what? We can actually kick off a familiar fight club like circle as soon as we can get ourselves a ring of spell storing.
You have one in a gun, sort of.
Oh my god, can you imagine shooting somebody with a fine spell?
Familiars.
And rabbit comes out of the gun.
It's
What is this?
World. Yeah, pretty much. Oh my god. So yeah, as the night concludes, notes are compared, guns are shot at friends. You know, you all can retire to your respective households, if you so choose. If you're not entirely wasted, I don't know how tipsy some of you all would get, but you all retire to your respective abodes and get a pleasant, if not inebriated, sleep.
Side note, Dakir's familiar is totally getting spoiled like crazy.
Nice.
Hell yeah. Hashtag boys night. Boy dinner.
Boys' night, familiars' night, hashtag. Self-care.
This is probably where Familiar Fight Club comes from. You're already shooting guns at one another. It's just a matter of time.
Yeah.
My Jory can beat your pretty kitty.
Why would you want to attack such a pretty cat? She's so precious.
And as the morning rises and you all kind of rise either early or late, depending on who the person is, you do notate, obviously, that you have some business to take care of. Lore, you know, it's up to you if you wanted to peruse the many locations for any kind of armor. This is one of the brief things that I will actually make you pay for, if you have gold on you.
If only I had any gold.
All right. Would you like a small loan that maybe a small person will come by and break your legs if you don't pay back?
I mean, plate
we don't
armor is
know
pretty
what's-
expensive. I don't.
It really is.
I
I
guess
mean,
I
we
could
are
get-
like business owners. We'll subsidize it. It's fine.
That's
Yeah,
true.
I mean, I'm sure I could find a way to pay them back if somehow I don't find it
Just
during my
record it
adventuring.
as a business expense under security.
Correct. You're
There
right.
you go.
But what am I thinking? You're right. It's a security business expense.
You have a
So,
lawyer now. He's, I'm sure, vaguely familiar with tax law.
I'm sure this is perfectly legal in every possible way. In
You
permutation.
know, it actually probably is.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
So I think I'm going to do that then.
Okay.
I would probably meet up with him as well and like just accompany him to market just to make sure he doesn't get ripped off.
Oh yeah, that's fine. So Lori, take some funds from the house funding that you have, in order to make sure that safety is key, obviously, because that's one of your slogans.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's the number one mission statement. Dude kill. Safety is key.
That's why Kess enjoys your company so much, because you're doing your best to safeguard the investment that the family's making. And honestly, despite the fact that this may equate you to a piece of property, you're making sure you're safeguarding that investment.
It's business. I understand.
It is definitely business.
It's political business, power stuff. We're making giant guns that nobody's seen before. This is horrifying when you think about it.
Yes, it is.
meta-wise. But Lore doesn't even understand that yet. So
Lore is beginning the military-industrial complex of Seorsum. The end.
the end. Yeah,
And
exactly.
my family is financing it.
Yes, your family is bankrolling this endeavor. But yeah, you can, I will say, like, in market, you can find, give me 1 second here. I know I have a place for this. There is a location. I believe it is the Knight's Stand. You should be able to go to the Knight's Stand and find yourself some armor. It is not too far into the market district when it comes down to it from your particular location. And there is a tiefling owner. He greets you as you come in, and it's a sign that says the Nightstand, and at the bottom it's got like almost like a Yelp review that says, Solace's #1 armory.
Well, that is definitely going to draw me in.
As you draw in, or as you are drawn in, you do notice that it is very well kept. It seems almost odd that it's not dirty in any way, shape, or form. It's not like a typical blacksmith area. It's almost like the storefront to the blacksmith area, but the storefront itself is like spit polished. So all the armor has no flaws on it whatsoever. Like, it clearly hasn't been battle worn at all. This is like your high class, spit polished metal. They have it hanging from the windows on display on like wooden mannequins and armor stands, and it's quite impressive that they've kept it that clean. But then again, it does belong in the market district. There's a reason why this particular shop is in the market district. But they have everything from plate, very few plate pieces or full plate pieces, mostly a lot of leather, and kind of like bits and bobs that your more so average adventurer would wear. But you are able to find a dwarven, almost like a dwarven steel fit for Lore.
Lore, of course, takes his time poring over the armor and checking its fit and making sure it looks good, because of course that's part of it. You got to look good too. The helmet fits just fine, doesn't pinch the beard. Or unintentionally pull on your hair, because that could be very very bad in battle. So after some fussing around with the dwarven steel armor here, I try to negotiate a purchase for it.
Artemy, you notice as like basically Lore comes out of like a dressing room. It's very fancy for an armory. Comes out of the dressing room, and he's kind of looking, and you see him kind of like doing squats, making sure he's as mobile as possible, and like flexing in certain ways, and maybe even like drawing from the hip as if he's pulling his pepper box lock out and like shooting, just to make sure he's got the proper movement to do everything he needs to do. And then he eventually goes over to the shopkeep and starts haggling a price.
Yeah, I would probably be like just eyeing the gaps in the armor. Like, how, if I wanted to stab him, how easy would it be? Like, how safe would?
Yeah.
How safe would this make him?
Normal gaps, obviously joints.
Gotcha.
That's why daggers are the way that they are. They're wieldy enough to get right into the ribs. There's like side slits on the armor for the breastplate to kind of tie into one another. There's underarm gaps, under the armpit, that he could get hit with shrapnel or stabbed by. There's pieces at all the joints that are walkable that could be problematic if not careful.
Usually
Yeah,
those are
but-
also filled in, those gaps are also usually filled in with chainmail, so
Yeah.
it's like you need something skinny to get in between some of that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like a
and
stiletto would be good here.
And padding.
and
Yeah.
padding, and the padding can be no joke in Dax.
Yeah. Yeah, it can be pretty hefty.
Good set
No-
of padded
no big
armor,
gaps, or there
stop
shouldn't be.
arrows.
No real big gaps. Like if someone decided to hit Lore with a large sword or something like that, they're probably not going to be able to easily find purchase. But if
Gotcha.
someone gets in close with a dagger, if they know what they're doing, the plate's not going to solve all the problems. But after a price is negotiated, Lore has necessary funds from, it probably actually has just like a writ of bill or something of that nature, from Dakir's house, and Nami will send funds as soon as possible. You have a proper seal and everything, and it's going to be charged to like a business expense basically. But Lore, how are you carrying all this with you? Are you going to be wearing it out, or are you going to be
Oh, I could easily carry it. I have a chest with me.
Oh, okay.
I have just such an occasion. I don't have to wear it out, but I could. I mean, that would look pretty cool, I guess.
Yeah, and
He's-
it's good advertising for the shop.
You know what? I am going to wear it out. It is cool.
He's
I'll
got
just
17
wear it
strength. He's good.
home. Yeah, I'm a strong guy. I'm down for that.
Laura, you do happen to notice that it's interesting how this particular armor fits. It's a little bit lighter than what you'd expect, but it does fit dwarven, the dwarven form a little bit better than you'd expect, especially so far away from home, at least from what you used to wear back home in the like the spine of Mons area, which is where the mountain dwarves are kind of located. You do kind of have this mental note of, I wonder if this armor was actually a seaborn dwarf, because it's a bit lighter,
Right.
and it's a bit more mobile than you were expecting, because back home things were heavier, like it felt heavier. So this is kind of a lighter build than you were expecting.
I would never admit it, but this does feel nicer than what I'm used to. I would actually remark on it to the shop owner and kind of needle about it a little bit. Like, do you import these? Did someone local make it? Did you make it?
He'll remark that they do usually do trades for a lot of this stuff. They do have an in-house blacksmith, but for the most part, a lot of their goods that are outside of like normal styles, they typically have to trade for. And this one was just traded for.
Yeah, that seems to be the case. So I would make note of that, and I'm thankful and grateful that that's the case, because I was a little worried we wouldn't find any dwarven appropriate armor here. So very cool.
Yeah, it's not typically very common, but you can find it. Like, it's a lot harder to tailor armor needs than it is like, hemming a scene or something like that in pants, or anything of that nature. But yeah, with that, you do have your armor. If you want to carry it with you or put it in the warehouse for now, you're more than welcome to. But yeah, you can have a full plate for whenever adventuring is happening. There may be an extra favor that is owed at some point in time, depending on how maybe appropriate it could be. We'll give a roll later to see how well the paperwork comes along for filing this as a business expense, and then we'll see how Kess determines if another favor is needed.
Understandable.
But she will take
I
it
am
into consideration.
requisitioning something pretty pricey.
Yeah, but she will take into consideration that you are a, for lack of a better term, a business asset.
You gotta equip your hero units.
But eventually, you all find your way to Solace Salvage. During the morning times, you can all reconvene at some point in time or head on back over. Artemy and Laura are pretty much most of the way there. Solace Salvage is in the working district, so it might take a little bit of time for some of you to head your way there. But for the most part, you eventually make your way over to the working district and get your way into Solace Salvage. And as you enter, you do see that Ratha is there. kind of like up in his office. So you enter the doorways and you can see that his door is just open. It's only a 2-story location. The ground floor itself has like a common area to eat. Actually, pardon me, it's technically, I guess, three levels to it. There is a lower level, kind of like basement, that those who are familiar, or at least those who can pick up on it relatively easily, individuals go down there with their bags. Some of the mercenaries that are there go down with like their rucksacks and their bags and whatnot, and you assume that they're settling into some kind of location, like a barracks of some kind, if they don't have any kind of domiciles themselves that they're operating out of. And then on the ground floor, like I said, like a basic mess hall, some training area with some like attack dummies, some archery things set up on the inside, just so people can train at any points in time. And then also the one room on the second floor that is basically Haratha's office, and you can see that the door is open.
So
And I will step in after him.
yeah, we approach.
And as you climb
Probably
this,
kind of
oh, go ahead.
just knock on the door as I walk in.
You can tell that Haratha's been looking over some paperwork. He's kind of standing over his desk, looking at what looks to be a map of not only Solace in a very, not necessarily primitive, but very basic layout, like this is the city, but also the outlying Solace timber that's kind of close by. And he has a couple of what looks to be roads and trade routes mapped out between the two, with kind of like different ink. So it's very, the map itself looks like you think it would in sepia toned, and then the trade routes themselves are in like a different color. So like there's a red for one route, and then there's like a dark blue for another route, and it just looks like he's kind of like looking over that particular map as you all walk in. And he kind of looks after, he looks after Artemy, knocks and greets, and he goes, Artemy, I didn't know you were part of this group. It's good to see a familiar face.
I get around.
Well, you want to introduce me to your friends?
This is Dakir of House Kinzontuzsegol,
Oh, wow.
He just kind of nods.
Valori Dunkeel of Stoneborn Many Works,
Nice to meet you.
He's Lord
and a recent
Army.
colleague, Yuri Oslin.
Laura, you in full armor.
I sure am.
Okay.
Nice.
All right.
Yuri would give an elegant bow.
He just
Been
kind
a
of
while.
nods to each of you. Yeah, you've I think you've been busy elsewhere, haven't you?
And I.
Yeah.
Last we talked was that business with Layla, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Well, at least that's wrapped up and we don't have to worry about it anymore. I would hope, anyway.
Has she been doing better?
She has been. We've had some people kind of watching over her just in case. At least, me personally.
That's good.
Well, let's get to the writ at hand. I've got some details here, but I've got some details I should cover with you all before we head out. But it's not going to be immediate. The writ is set for us to head out at least tomorrow because we're kind of on a tight timetable.
Us. You'll be coming with us then.
Yes, I will be accompanying you in this. It seems as though some bandits hit some trade routes along the roads that head out from Solace on their way to Trivium. We have two groups for this particular writ. One is already set forth escorting the trade route at hand. There was quite a few of them that went along and departed this morning. They headed out. Actually, no, it was last night. They headed out last night, and we don't know if they're going to get hit again by bandits. We're hoping that their competence when guarding that particular caravan is going to follow through. But we have a hint, especially from obviously our sources, and he kind of looks towards Artemy, motioning that our sources is definitely some kind of like thieves guild connection.
Just kind of gives a knowing smirk.
That there may be an area in which these bandits may be operating out of, but we're not entirely sure. So we're going to try to assemble a team that has a little bit of know-how. I was told there was an individual here that may have some knowledge of the history of the area.
Indeed. Certainly we have some information on the history of the vocation. Still looking into who would have the strongest claim of the area at the moment. Would you have any insight into that?
I don't really deal in details. Well, not when it comes to the legalities of landowners, but maybe I can get you in touch with maybe someone at the Librum who has some of the I would say the details of the land, and maybe we can figure out who these bandits maybe have pushed out or dissuaded from talking about them inhabiting on their lands. This is only a hunch, we have, our connection has told us that it's possibly in this particular area that they have kind of settled, and we need to quell this before they start disrupting a lot more trade routes, because when Solace can't get anything out, we get less money when it comes to protecting the caravans because we're not doing our job. And I'm not having that.
Is there a local magistrate in that particular area? What's the governing body of that general area?
Like out of character?
Yeah.
It's really just the grand, I would say, like, if we're talking about the outer timber, there's not really a strict guideline. It still falls within like the area of the capital city, but is not really highly policed because of how far away it is from the city proper. So there's like loose rules out in the lay of the land that like Solace would try to enforce, but funding usually prevents like the agency from going out that far, which is typically why these writs are made for mercenary groups like Solace Salvage to try to push some kind of order when needed. But when it comes to like strictly enforcing any kind of like property lines or anything like that, it's really not feasible, at least from what Solace has said, to do so. So you're not going to find like a strict magistrate or a duke that rules over those things, just for how far out it is.
Got it.
So mostly just like a bunch of independent landowners, essentially.
More or less, yeah. Think of like Wild
Gotcha.
West being like, hey, this is mine now.
Fair enough.
I see.
Yeah, it's not as like structured as the classic kingdoms and whatnot with baronies and whatnot, right?
No, yeah, it's really not. You'll have the magistrates and the house representatives, for the most part, they'll vie for their influence within Solace itself for the most part, because of the fact that most of the trade, most of everything, the knowledge trading, everything falls within the kind of like the city walls, and the city's really, really big. And it is surrounded by like a barrier wall just in case, but the outside those walls are usually left to the individual common folk that want to settle on a piece of land. And generally, unless there is like a large enough party there to cause a disturbance from the city, those individuals are just kind of left to resolve with a general like guideline of the land, any kind of discrepancies that may happen. But stuff is still logged. Stuff is like property lines are still loosely illustrated and documented, but it's not super enforced by the city.
Right.
But again, Ratha just makes the point of, you know, we need to kind of flush out these bandits if they are in this area. And when he mentions the area, you know that he's referencing that kind of researched area that you were doing for Kess, the matriarch.
Mm-hmm.
You're not entirely sure he has that background knowledge of possibly an Aether font in the area. He just knows, or at least your perception of him is just saying he knows that there's bandits in the area.
Right. Mm-hmm. We are going to have to start thinking about the possibility of setting up a more permanent force in that area. Given that, you know, we have a vested interest in the in the land in that particular area in question, you know. Because we can't have this kind of, you know, Wild West area constantly disrupting the supply lines.
That would be really good if we had the manpower, but we don't get writs from Solace to protect that outside source unless obviously something has happened. So unless you can do some changes in the logistical routes and maybe the district lines that would protect things like that, I can't help you. And just Ratha, who's just like,
oh no. Given the way the outer support for like banditry and whatnot, dealing with banditry and whatnot is limited at the moment, we probably will have to rely on private forces, unfortunately. We'll have to discuss that with our investors.
well, if your investors are willing to pay, I might be able to drum up some bodies to kind of throw at this situation, but long term it probably won't survive.
Oh, absolutely. It's definitely a long-term a long-term investment, as it were. We'll just have to build it as we go.
Ratha kind of turns his look to the table and the maps that he was kind of like dealing with before you all came in, and as he does so, he kind of points to the supply lines that he has notated, and the one that's highlighted as red looks like it is following a main path that is going outside of Solace into the Outer Timber towards Trivium. And he points out, he's like, the other party that was addressing the attacks on the caravan went through this route. We're not going to go through this route. We have our contacts telling us that this one, and he points at like the blue separate one that kind of deviates a little bit farther to the north of that particular supply line into what looks like a heavily wooded area. That's not too far away from the red supply line. He points out, he's like, we're going to be traveling with this, and we're going to have a couple of hands with us to assist on this particular patrol, but it will take at least a night or two to get through from what I could estimate.
Understood.
And just kind of
So
go ahead.
okay.
Go ahead, Nier.
I was gonna say I'm gonna like try to look, see how like where there's like placements of the different like property lines or lines I would expect, and just um, how closely you could reach them from each of those trade routes. Basically, try to figure out the closest distance from each one of the properties that I was looking at from the trade route.
Like the blue one that's highlighted for you all.
Yeah, basically.
It would probably look like there's very likely two vague property lines that you had done research on out that far that belonged to two separate families, or that had belonged to two separate families, that could exist close enough to one of that blue trade route that you all would be kind of like going to. One family would be just a human farmer. You did some research on like the production of whatever they brought in, and they were just like wheat farmers, like basic wheat farmers trying to utilize whatever they could to trade with Solace. Solace itself has internal walled farms, but they still allow for certain trade outside of the walls, to kind of help stimulate whatever economy is needed, so that way people can survive to a degree. They just don't need it as much as maybe other cities do. So you can assume that's one of the families that was trying to kind of live out that far away from Solace. And then there is another family, or at least it says family on the I guess the documentation that you had discovered, but it's a little bit older, so it may not be as accurate. There is a like a mixed family of like a half elf and a tiefling that used to live out in those particular areas, that were just like huntsmen, that would kind of peruse that area into the outer Solace timber and bring in like cuts of meat and skins and stuff that they would kind of bring in from time to time.
All right, so out of character, kind of what I'm looking for is a fairly easy way to like set up I don't know entirely what to say. Set up an operation where we could like not only acquire the land for claiming the Aether thing, but also to kind of like treat it as a sort of waypoint along the trade route. That way we not only get the advantage of having a constantly traveled route that is technically guarded by the caravans, but we can also act as a supply hold for those trade routes as well, so that we can kind of create a how do I put it? Basically, so that we can kind of like work together to create a solid protection for that trade route.
Okay. Yeah, like a stepping stone, but also like I don't know, just like a almost like a checkpoint to a degree.
Yeah. So, and basically, we can use that justification as to why we're looking into that land without necessarily giving away that we're looking into it also as a an Aether point.
Okay. Yeah.
And yeah, we can also so basically we're just getting a whole lot of assets just by having a trade route, having a waypoint, a checkpoint, and holding the Aether point.
Okay, cool. Yeah, we can come up with those specifics too. That's it's very clever. But yeah, as you're kind of like going over those particular details and thinking it over and asking about like how can we set up a like a waypoint that we could fall back to, but also properly maintain those trade routes in the area. You're not entirely sure, at least from your studies, that those two families, like the census data is completely up to date. The human family seems like maybe it's a little bit more up to date because it was only a few years back. The other one is a bit older, but you're kind of not sure until you check it firsthand to see,
Right.
What actually lies out there. Could you communicate with those individuals? But that's what it takes to kind of like figure out if you can make those deals. But yeah, that's something that you keep in mind, and obviously going forward, that'll be something like legally you'll be thinking about and keeping in the back of your mind.
Right. Um, Normally I can I'm pretty fast on the whole bullshitting legal stuff, but I'm actually not entirely sure how the legal what the legality of setting up like a, you know, independent offshoot of a trade of a of a another operations trade route.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
Well,
Go ahead. Go ahead.
if it's anything like the Wild West, like Cannon described it, then like it would be very possible to just kind of pick a spot. Like, okay, this is like that's what happened with Deadwood, like Deadwood, South Dakota. Like this is Camp Deadwood now. It's we're independent. We're just gonna operate here for a little bit.
There's a few ways that you can do it. Yeah, you could just basically say, "Hey, we kind of need to just take this over." You can see if you can, depending on what you can confirm about the location itself, you can try to get sanctioning from the city and just basically say, "Hey, this is for out of there. We're gonna try to make a legal case for this being, instead of privately owned, a some kind of either state-owned point of interest that we can have checkpoints for the trade route, and it's ran by us, or privately contracted out by us to do so, and
Right.
the state can basically give their stamp of approval, kind of like the equivalent of a city or state government buying a piece of your property because they're expanding utilities on it or something like that. You could try to make a case like that in that particular instance, because it's not as vastly populated. They can more than likely, if someone does live there, they could assert some kind of dominance over it, but also get them moved to a different location. And it wouldn't be as much of a logistical nightmare unless it's like right inside the city. Like if you're trying to move something around inside the city, probably be a little bit more of a nightmare. But you think you could probably massage the books a little bit enough, talk to some people, some lawmakers, and be like, hey, this has become a problem. We want to try to establish this as like a trade point, a trade route checkpoint, in order to, and then you could bullshit some safety hazard or whatever.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, we already have a safety hazard. It's called bandits.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I'm just thinking like if we could like get it claimed as like the equivalent of like I don't know a King's Road or a main highway, that kind of like kind of that kind of thing. If it's an important enough trade route, then we might actually be able to like appeal to the district for a more consistent patrol along those areas.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
of course, using the fact that we're creating this waypoint as a way of basically saying, yeah, and we're also going to make it easier for you guys to, maintain those patrols as well.
As you're kind of going over those options, like Haratha is nodding, but it's seeming like that's not his thing, right? Like you're making very valid points, but Haratha, this just large orc of a man, is just kind of like, I'll let you handle the details. What I really need to know, and he looks to Artemis like, can they fight?
He says he can, but I've not personally seen him in action, no.
Any gentleman can fight.
Well, not just him. These two, I don't think I've seen these two fight.
Oh, they're fine.
Lore's still like doing squats in the armor, like getting really used to it. Like
He definitely, like, Roth is just looking at Lore as he's like, gotta limber up. he's just like,
gotta get used to it.
Nakir is standing there, still very well dressed, holding a quarterstaff, just kind of waves as the guy looks over to him.
Oh my god.
What was Hratha's fucking nickname again? Fire something.
His last name is Firefiend.
Fire Fiends. That tells you all you need to know about this man.
Yeah. By Fire Crotch, no, Firefiend. But yeah, like up in his office, he has his everything kind of like listed. He's not dressed in any kind of like armor or anything right now, but he's definitely someone that has a very martial prowess to him. He wouldn't have this business if it wasn't more martially oriented. He's got his twin tiger swords hanging up on his wall for when he needs them. He's got his armor in his armor rack, and right now he's just kind of like in a very much so like casual, like 3/4 button up tunic and some pants. He's not flashy whatsoever when it comes to his dress. More practical and definitely seems more straightforward. And he kind of looks to you again, Artemis, and he's just like, I'm not bringing their corpses back. I'm just telling you that right now.
Oh, I didn't expect you to.
All right. Well, unless you have any more questions for me, that's all I have. Meet up tomorrow morning, and we're gonna head out as soon as we can.
Oh, Artemia, by the way, just so you know, I learned a trick.
Have you?
I can pull him back too.
Sorry?
Well, I don't just have to push them. I can pull them back too.
Ooh.
The pity I feel for our enemies is immeasurable.
I hope that pity's not misplaced. If you all don't mind, I have some other planning I have to do. I've got to drum up a couple of mercenaries before tomorrow, and it seems like we're shorthanded after sending some of them with this other group.
I take it that Firecrotch is not as aware as of Artemis' views on Dakir are in terms of combat.
No, he has no fucking clue what you guys are talking about.
Well, it's more of a case of I heard that Artemis basically said that I would rather face the matriarch or one of her children, other children, than deal with whatever the hell Dakir is doing.
You know, that has a variety of contexts. Like,
yeah,
it might not be common. He's talking about pushing and pulling. I don't know what.
I'm just saying. I think it's just like, it's like, can they fight? Artemis just kind of looks over at Dakir, looks back.
Can they fight? Oh yeah, they're fine. Hratha probably takes his word for it.
Yeah, he would. He's just he gives that to everybody. Maybe it's a little bit of a scare tactic to see if you all show up to Hratha knows that Artemis will show up. He's been good for it. He doesn't know three of you.
I mean, aside from Artemis, I think the rest of us just look like a bunch of nerds and dorks anyway.
Yeah, you look.
Dakir looks like really well dressed. He's very fancy. He's definitely takes very good care of his appearance.
You look noble and like politicians, except for Lore right now. Lore just looks like, I don't know what does.
Lore looks like he is trying to achieve heat stroke for some reason.
This is peak dwarven though.
This is peak dwarven behavior.
Yeah.
I am just imagining a dwarf in full plate doing that Final Fantasy VII squats routine.
Yes.
Purely
Exactly.
It's just on loop.
You may not like
In my
it, but
brain.
this is what peak performance looks like.
Yes, full of shit.
Plus the armor is like new, so I can't say I look battle hardened. I probably just look silly.
You look shiny as shit. You look like a beacon. You look like you're asking to be shot because it's so shiny. Especially, you look like you're wanting to get hit by Hratha himself, and he doesn't pull punches because of how
Fantastic.
shiny that plate is.
This is perfect then. Lore has made the correct choice.
But Hratha just looks to Artemis like, just close the door on your way out, please. I got more stuff to organize.
Fair enough.
He gets back to like looking at various amounts of paperwork. You can assume it's like profiles of mercenaries that he's hired before, and seeing who's dead and who's not at this point in time. But yeah, with that, we will say that if you have anything else you'd like to wrap up, we will still call it there. But the next session we do will be the gang goes a caravanning, or at least hunting with Solace Salvage to find some bandits.
Oh yeah.
Gang goes mercenary.
Yep, 100%.
I will probably ask, like, what spells me and Lore managed to get sorted out between our spell books and such.
If there are some to trade, to swap.
Because if there's two wizards in the party, like, there's of course the Sharon spell books.
Hey, Dakir was sharing his spellbook too.
This squiggle bit.
Yeah, it seems to be mostly just filled with ritual spells.
It's like that's like it's a funny flavor thing, because like I think the rulebook says like every spell book has like the caster's own little formula, their own notation. And
Lore
like,
appreciates serpents, squiggly bits, and finds them easy to translate over into his spellbook.
Yuri probably look it over and is like, you don't have to worry about writing. Just treat it as if it's like an art project.
All right, Dakir, I need you to color in the lines, please. All right, guys. I'll be back in a bit if you want to stay and talk about spellbook stuff and what's been swapped. Thank you all for showing up and playing. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for running.
All right, I'll be back.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you everybody for stopping by and watching. It's always fun running these games, especially when people add their own little flair. It's just always fun. I appreciate every one of you for stopping by, playing, and chilling with us. I'm gonna go ahead and sort out some stuff with these nerds, and then relax for a bit, I believe. So I hope you all have a good rest of your weekend. Hopefully tomorrow is not gonna be stressful for anybody, and you can sleep in your heart's desire. And then, yeah, and then soon I'll get more games scheduled. So, love you, smooches, and you all have a good rest of your night.